I tried to book Brett Favre, who stole money from poor people in Mississippi, for a speaking engagement at my made-up company. And the company who books him wrote me and said that he charges $150,000 for an appearance. So I asked them if he'd come down to $100,000. And they said they can see what he says, but he's not considering a lot of appearances and events right now. And so I asked why, and they said mainly because some of the stories about him in the media. So I said, oh wow, just Googled him. I'm just now finding out about this.
Comedian Ben Palmer's back at it again with his mastery via the electronic mail.
Do you think he'll have any scheduling conflicts? Like, will he be in prison for stealing from the poor? And they said, I really have no idea, and honestly, it's going to be tough to get him in terms of these appearances. And they said, we probably have a long shot at getting him. And honestly, he may not be the best fit for your company. So I said, yeah, I hear you. I guess stealing from the poor makes it harder to face the public. Maybe our organization could start our own prison so we'd be a better fit for him. He could even start his own pickup football game out in the yard.
Well done, James. Now, before we get into it, let me put you on to who this guy is.
A Home Depot employee wore a hat that said America was never great. And a lot of people wrote to Home Depot and wanted to fire her over this. Like this person, Paula, who said, I will never shop at this store again. So I made my own Home Depot Facebook page and responded and said, Paula, that is great news. We look forward to never seeing you again. Cheers, the Home Depot. She responded and said, I'll let corporate know you feel that way. Thank you. Corporate's like, Paula, we don't care. When Dick's Sporting Goods stopped selling assault rifles, someone named Randall wrote to them on their Facebook page and said, never set foot in here again. So I made my own Dick's Sporting Goods Facebook page and responded and said, hi, Randall. We're sorry to hear you lost your foot in a gun accident. We hope to see you again sometime. A Target employee wore a shirt that said, I can't breathe. And someone took a picture of it and shared it on Target's Facebook page. And then somebody named Christine wrote to Target and said, can you tell me why one of our local stores are wearing offensive attire? So I responded to Christine with a Facebook page I made called Target Corporate and said, we're sorry to hear you're offended. We will consider printing Justice for Christine shirts to start the healing process. Someone else responded and said, wow, that was their response? What a joke. Post this and their response all over social media. Let's make this go viral.
He is pro-union, as seen in his videos on the Frito-Lay workers' strike, the factory workers at Nabisco going on strike, and Gatorade employees who were mistreated by the corporation who even hired union busters, although of course they failed. And the workers won in a union election. He trolled more of the rich and powerful, like the failed Senate candidate and quack physician, Dr. Oz, anti-gay fans of the Los Angeles Kings doing the bare minimum for inclusion, and much more. If you would like to see James perform, by the way, here are his upcoming tour stops. Denver, Mesa, Tucson, and Dallas, Texas. Please throw him a follow and support his stuff.
And this can't cancel culture was Dr. Seuss. I mean, are you kidding me?
Favre, who has been entangled in the Mississippi welfare scandal through text messages, show he allegedly knew where the money was coming from.
In a different text exchange, Favre asking New, if you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where it came from and how much?
Which were presented in court by former governor of Mississippi, Phil Bryant. Keep following me because the update is crazy.
New text messages show the pressure former NFL quarterback Brett Favre was putting on then Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant. Favre requested money for an indoor football practice facility to help recruit a player for his college alma mater, the University of Southern Mississippi, in 2019. The funding in question from a grant program intended for low-income families. The governor responded to Favre's request. Use of these funds is tightly controlled. Any improper use could result in violation of federal law.
And also in court documents via Nancy New and her attorneys. New ran a private organization funded largely by block grants from the state's welfare agency. The News, who are cooperating, said in court documents that Governor Bryant directed Nancy to pay millions of dollars to Brett Favre.
As this has just been unfolding, the main players of this scheme, namely Phil Bryant and Brett Favre have sort of tried to make excuses for their involvement.
Kudos to this journalist, Anna Wolf, who initially rang the bell on this scandal locally in Mississippi. Recently, Mark Fainaru-Wada, the man who uncovered the NFL's indifference to the long-term effects of playing football and how the sport directly links to concussions in his book League of Denial, which also, by the way, was produced as a documentary on PBS. Essentially, Fainaru-Wada uncovered that Favre teamed up with neurologist Jacob Van Lattingham, and they went on a PR blitz to promote Prevacus.
The brain is the most complex part of the human body. Prevacus has designed a nasal therapeutic which easily crosses into the brain.
What initially set off state auditor Shad White was the funneling of welfare funds to, as prosecutors put it, via Nancy Newman and her son Zach, to Prevacus and Presol MD in the form of more than $2 million. Fainaru-Wada reported both companies belonged to Van Lattingham. Dr. Stephen Dukoski, the deputy director of the McKnight Brain Institute at the University of Florida and a leading researcher in Alzheimer's disease and traumatic brain injury, or TBI, told Fainaru-Wada of Van Lattingham's alleged breakthroughs in treating concussions, quote, "I looked to see what the evidence was that Prevacus really does what they say it does, and there is none." Dr. Daniel Weinberger, the director of the Lieber Institute for Brain Development and a professor of neuroscience at Johns Hopkins, would tell ESPN, "I don't believe there's any scientific evidence to support this claim for human use." What they did was they produced a cream and a nasal spray. Both of them have now been debunked.